You're now tuned in to Hough Nation Sports. Buckle up and don't forget to like and subscribe.
3, 2, 1, let's go!
Welcome, everyone, for the inaugural episode of Hough Nation Sports Timeout Convos episodes. We'll have Timeout Convos. We'll have editorial shows. We'll have interaction shows with the fans. We'll have super fans of each team. We'll have some of the great players in the state and beyond. We'll have some of the great coaches. We may even have some referees on. This show's going to do a lot of things, but our very first show, glad to have you with us, the inaugural episode 1, Hough Nation Sports Timeout Convos, and our guest is none other than Hall of Famer herself, Miss Deborah Stroman Wardlaw, 7-time basketball state champion over at Lower Richland High School. Coach Stroman Wardlaw, thanks for sharing some time with us.
You're welcome. I'm so happy to be here, being your first one. Let's go.
Absolutely. And you know, we have a history. We'll get to that, though. You just ain't not my first time interviewing you. Not at all, by a long shot, right? And usually it was after a chip. So there you go. That's good stuff. That's good stuff. So for those who don't know, not only a Hall of Famer, 7-time title winner, and I'll give you those years right there. We'll talk about it more as we go on. But what I like about, I'm giving you a bio now, so you can go ahead and give me your humble look if you want to, whatever you want to. But I'm gonna read you. She's a very humble woman of God, and glad to have her with us. Coach Deborah Stroman Wardlaw, folks, won titles in 3 different decades. First of all, in her second year, I believe, according to the bio, she could win a chip at Lower Richland. Got a little spoiled. Went back to her alma mater, won her second year in 1994. Then came back in 97. And those games I didn't call. But 06, 07, 08, 09, I think I might have called all 4 of those down at the Colonial Life Arena 4 times between 2000 and 2010. That's dominance. And then came back just for good measure to show you I still got it. And came back in the teens in 2013 and won another chip. Overall coaching record, 487 and 127. Again, South Carolina Basketball Coaches Association Hall of Famer, Columbia College Athletics Hall of Fame. Just the resume, folks, is strong like bull. It's a very strong resume. So, Coach, with that being said, let's get right into it. We talked about those accolades. I want to start off with, how does that feel as you look back now in retirement? 7. Sometimes you got to look back and think. They just dedicated the floor, by the way, at Lower Richland High School with your name on it, which I think was long overdue. How does it feel looking back on it all?
You know, it's one of those things you don't really think about it until somebody brings it up.
Right,
Or
right.
someone, like the floor dedication, and you kind of look back at all of the years that you've been in school and you're so successful and you've met so many people and you've done so many things and the great honors that have come with it, and the impact you have, especially on the people that were there with you, all the coaches and definitely the players and those kinds of things. So, looking back is just kind of like, golly, we were in something the other day and just pulling some stuff out and caught a book it was, I think, 2009, Morgan's senior year, and we were kind of looking through it. And I was like, oh man, so looking back is always very nostalgic. You get a warm feeling inside.
Look at that smile. That's a smile of somebody who look back and say, I've been there, I did that, I've done that, and now I'm resting, and I'm still young enough to enjoy.
Yeah.
You got a Hall of Fame parade. You got all kind of, you got a lot of accolades still coming to you. You get to enjoy it as you're in retirement without the pressure of having to win or lose a game right now. You're just living life. So with that being said, let's take you back to the very beginning then. Let's go back to young Debbie. Had an outstanding career of your own, volleyball and basketball, I do believe.
Yeah.
I'm probably good at everything. Some people are just good at everything they do. I get it. So don't make me feel bad. But but go back to young Debbie, and when you first got into sports and especially basketball, and knew that, hey, this might be something I might go ahead and dig into and really pursue.
Yeah, people always say, "Oh, I come from humble beginnings," but it is so true. And I could tell you, we were at Hopkins Middle School. Actually, it was junior high school then, and my girlfriends were playing basketball. And they were like, "You should play basketball." We had this intramural day, and field day, and so I went out there and played a little bit. Didn't really know what I was doing, but just trying to get into it, and said, you're so tall, you should play, you should play. So I said, you know what? Let me go ahead and play. Tried out for the JV team, made the JV team, but I still wasn't good. And that confidence thing, because I was a tall girl,
Yeah, yeah,
always taller than everybody.
yeah.
But I needed something else. So believe it or not, Stacey, my granddaddy built a backboard with a
Oh,
rim, because his sons were always athletic and played on, the high school
yeah,
teams and
yeah.
stuff like that. Had an old rim, and he does carpentry work. Made
Okay.
a backboard out
Yeah.
of wood, put the rim there. I
Oh,
didn't have a net, because this old school. We
oh,
didn't
I've
have a
been there,
net.
done that. I know.
There you go. But we didn't have a pole to put it on, so there was a light post
Been there, done that too.
in the yard. And he put that thing on the light post, and there it was. Now, I complained, because I was like, well, I need a different kind of surface, because it was all grass.
The country,
He
the
told
country.
me,
The country.
he told me, dribble the ball, and the grass will leave you, and then you have what you need. So I was
Boom.
out there every afternoon doing the best I could out there. So
How old were you about that time? What about age was that for you?
oh man, I was probably maybe about 13, 12 or 13, like 12, 13.
Man,
Yeah.
that's the formative years. So two things about that story you just told. One thing is shout out to grandparents, right? There's nothing like grandparents. Right? Oh my God,
Mhm.
don't get me, man. That's shaped me, man. They shaped who I am. Of course, parents, but my grandparents, nothing like a sweet granddaddy, grandma. The second thing is I'm from Chesterfield, South Carolina. I'm from the dirt. I grew up. I told people we call them kookaburras. If you can dribble and avoid those kookaburras, those bars, you get some handle. You drill around the tree limbs, you get handle. When you get on the side of the surface, you really about to go off. And I was like,
Mhm.
that's gave you some good handles. And this other thing about that story, the light pole, if you miss, you got to go chase that ball.
You got to chase the ball. Yeah. Yeah. Well, he did do a backboard for me. So,
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
was
That's true.
kind
That's
of,
true. Right, right.
it
So you
was a
did
little
have to have some of that.
bougie,
Yeah,
but, we did have neighbors,
yeah.
but yeah, so he did do a backboard.
Okay, that's right.
He knew the whatever, the composition of the backboard,
Yeah, yeah.
and we had it up there. So any misses came right back to me.
There you
So
go.
that
That's
was a
good.
good thing.
And
Yeah.
that's the genesis of how we got here. So talk about that. You went to play that Laura Richland.
Played at Lord Richland. Played volleyball and basketball,
Yeah,
and had done really well in both of them, all region teams. I didn't make all state team, but it was okay.
yeah, yeah.
Um, and went on to Columbia College. Now, when I went to Columbia College, I went on a volleyball scholarship.
Really?
Yes, and so I walked on the basketball team.
The
Don
fighting
Pat
koalas.
the Fighting Koalas back
Ah,
then. Don Patno, the basketball coach, knew I was on campus, and he asked the volleyball coach, "Hey, can I talk to her?" And da da da. So had a conversation with him and said, "Hey, um, I didn't know you were coming, but I heard you were this really good basketball player from Lower Richland. Would you like to try out for the team and stuff like
wow.
that?" So came, and I'm like, yeah, yeah, yeah. Long as it doesn't interfere with volleyball, and Coach Warren said
Yeah.
I can do it, let's go ahead and do it. And so walked on my freshman year at Columbia College.
And then you did work though. Then you put in work.
Put
Come
in
on.
work. And you
Come on.
know what, Stacey? I knew I was better than some of the other girls.
Right.
But it was this one girl who was there, and she's a really good friend from Darlington, Deborah Bruce. And golly, you know how you always have that person you admire, and that's the standard, so
Yes.
you want to be like this person. Man,
Absolutely.
she was that person, so I was kind of fighting for my life to be just as good as her.
Right. But she iron sharpens iron, so she helps you get better. Um,
Hmm.
talking to legendary basketball coach in the state of South Carolina, Deborah Stroman Wardlaw, Deborah Wardlaw, and we talked about how your humble beginnings, and then you get to Columbia College, and you kind of find your way. You go for volleyball, and you jump over to basketball, and you start to feel it. So at some point, because they got you, I think you're in the Hall of Fame over there too. So you
Yeah.
at some point, you became you became that person.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, I really enjoyed what I did. Volleyball was my first sport. I mean, it was just one of those things that not really my first sport, but my favorite sport. So I put a lot of time into being the best volleyball player, but I had those basketball skills too. As a student athlete, juggling the basketball and the volleyball, and it's like volleyball is this season. As soon as it's over, boom, you're jumping in there. So
Oh
I
yeah,
missed some practices, but I was able to get it, got a scholarship my sophomore year, and I did what I did, and
yeah,
I think I did pretty well. I had one of the best experience I've had at Columbia College. Had an
yeah.
opportunity to go somewhere else, and
Okay.
actually Sylvia Hatchell from
Oh,
she was at Francis Marion. She
that's
used to
right.
talk about that story all the time.
And she ended up being North
Um,
Carolina coach for a long time, right?
yeah, and she recruited me, but I wanted to play volleyball.
Oh wow, I did not realize that. 'Cause, yeah, Sylvia Hatcher always did a great job, even because she had the Francis Marion roots. Even in North Carolina, she recruited South Carolina very well. She always
Yeah,
did. Larry Ladder, on and on. And she always had her hands in this area, even back in the 90s,
yeah,
apparently. So
yeah.
my daughter played 1 year softball at Columbia College on scholarship. Then she didn't want to. She gave it up. Didn't want to play anymore. And
Oh,
went to USC. Y'all had that 1 year, that in common for 1 year, and then she finished at South Carolina. But that's a good part of your story. A lot of people do not know that about you, because
mhm.
and now we get to the part that they do know. You were a legend on the sidelines, coach. I gotta give it to you, man. 94. We'll talk about how you come out of college and you land a job at your alma mater in 93. And tradition rich. I mean, they had a good boys team, they've had good girls talent come through over the years.
Mhm.
So how did you feel taking that job, going back? Was it pressure? How did you feel when you first went back home to take the mantle as head girls coach?
It's always pressure, but it was a little different pressure. Titus Duran
Yeah.
hired me, so he was there. We all were there. I was coaching volleyball, so he was like, "We have a basketball is open up. What you want to do?" And I said, "Oh, give me a minute to think about it." Because I don't know.
Yeah.
I read it somewhere where you just
Yeah.
they make the offer, but you don't accept immediately. Give yourself a day to think about
That's
it.
exactly right. The power of
So
negotiation, right? Don't be too quick.
yeah, so I gave myself a day, thought about it, and said, yes, I'll do it. Now, and he said one thing. He said, now that basketball players are different than volleyball players. So, y'all have a good time and it's so nice
Yeah.
and it's all daisies and
Yeah.
flowers over there. He said, you're gonna have to get tough with the girls over there
Absolutely.
in basketball. So
Absolutely. Absolutely.
yeah, definitely a different world, a different approach to coaching at the time.
Well, clearly, and I'm no genius, but clearly something tells me that if you took the job in 93 and then 94, you're cutting nets down. Apparently, you took to it pretty well, coach.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Your first year, you try to figure it out. You try to figure it out. You listen. I tell people all the time, I'm really a student of the game. I think I'm a student of life
Okay.
because you sit back and you listen, you observe what's going on around you, and you hear people talking. I remember, golly, we didn't make the playoffs our first year. We were like 13-9.
Okay.
The girls were getting used to me.
Yeah.
It was just trying to establish your culture, the
Yeah.
culture that you wanted to have, the
Absolutely.
standards and the rules and all that good stuff. And listening to people and them telling me, oh, your team is almost there. They're pretty good. They were better than they were last year. And we think you got it. We think you have the girls where they need to be. And then the next year came around and I was like, y'all ready? And they said, yes, coach. And that's all I wanted them. I wanted them to buy in to the system that we had,
Yeah.
cleaned some things up, got some attitudes in order. Whatever had to be done, I was doing it. And actually, I was expecting my first kid the first year. So, yeah, yeah, yeah. So
Who
my son,
became, and we'll get to that in a minute, who became, well, that's,
yeah, so the first year was a little struggle, but then
yeah.
once that was over, it was time to we I dove in both feet
Yeah.
and gosh, man, we did so well. We did so well.
I mean, coach, that is almost unheard of, second year to win a chip. I mean, especially at a school that's, You know, at that time y'all were 4A, y'all were y'all were big, y'all playing
We
big
were
boy.
4A,
Yeah,
yeah.
y'all. It wasn't like you jumped into a. The competition was already there waiting on you. I mean,
Right,
in the
right.
'90s, as you know, we can go back to the Ann Longs and there was a lot of good, a lot of coaches already out there that were doing things. So
Mhm.
you kind of jumped in there and got it done. So with that said, that was '94, and you come back again in '97, and do it again. So talk about those '90s and those teams. That was some of those young ladies now are grown with kids of their own now. So,
Yeah, yeah.
so
And actually,
how does that feel though?
I saw a couple of them at the court dedication, and I
Mhm.
see a couple every once in a while. I
Yeah,
saw
yeah,
one at the University of South Carolina game the other night, walked up on her. But, it's just so, you know, to be honest, that 90s was really a different time.
yeah,
I could
yeah,
tell you right now, um, those girls really wanted to do something. They
yeah,
wanted to leave something for
yeah,
somebody to remember them
yeah,
by.
yeah.
Um, Parents were all on board, no questions asked. What you want us to do? Let's go ahead and do it. What she do? She did take care of it. Can you take care
Definitely
of it?
different than now, but that's another whole. Yeah,
Definitely different than now.
yeah,
So, it was a different understanding, but they played. They
yeah.
played for the game. They played for, I would always tell them when we were winning, my first season, we were 33-0. I told during our region, we had the region playoffs, and the first and second team went to
Right,
the playoffs.
right, right.
And they were like, well, you're going to be the first team anyway. I'm like, yeah, I know, because I'm undefeated. And
Right,
they would say, hey, well, if you're going to lose a game, lose it. You can lose it now
right,
in regions. And I was like, lose a game? What are
right,
you like? Who are you talking to?
right. Like what they do that at? I don't understand the language you're speaking. Right?
I didn't understand it. Like, if I'm gonna lose now. No, I'm trying to beat everybody. And thank you for letting me know. Let me go back here and tell my team that they
The,
not rooting for y'all to win. They rooting for y'all to see who gonna beat y'all.
use that for motivation. I love it, Coach.
Use it for motivation. So we went on and we just swept that season, 33 and
I
0.
didn't realize that.
Yeah, the next season it was the next championship was in 97. We struggled at the beginning. I think we were 0-7. Oh man,
You had some attitudes to
I
get together on that, so you had to get some attitudes together again. Sound like.
yeah, it was kids who were on the team. They were freshmen
Hmm.
when we won in 94. Now they're seniors, so they're a little more lackadaisical. I've been
Mm.
in it for 5 years now, or 4 years, and we kind of like
Yeah,
moving.
yeah.
And we had to have when it was come to Jesus meeting in the middle of the court,
Little
hand
revival, little
out
basketball
some,
revival. Yeah.
there you go, hand out some index card and say, what you want to do? Gave it to them because I knew what I wanted to do.
You had to make them write
So
it down and make
what
it plain, make it
there
known.
you go. But you ask them what you want to do. They wrote down what they want to do. To about, do we want to share? I said, no, I don't want to share. I don't want to hear it. I
No,
said, go put it in your locker room. And every day you open that locker room, you read what you want to do and
that's
want
right.
to accomplish. And if you're doing in practice
Yeah,
enough to get to where what that post say,
yeah.
then we're gonna have some good practices. And we won the next I think it was next 25 games in a row. So
Wow.
yeah.
That's going on a run.
Yeah,
That's called a
yeah.
run. Coach, that's heady stuff, and that's good coach. That stuff, you see, that coaching philosophy will work today. But
Mhm.
one thing you mentioned, and we won't. That's another whole. We'll do. That's another whole show. I might have you back to another whole show. But the parents' buy-in is big.
Yeah.
There are some shows around. There's some schools around the state right now who still get that. And you know how I
Mhm.
know because I broadcast the state championships, and
Yeah.
I see those schools there that weekend.
Yeah.
There's some others who don't do that, and they're not going to be there that weekend because of the every parent's a coach.
Mhm.
Everybody counting the shots. Who shot who? And my son didn't shoot
Yeah.
it. My daughter
Yeah.
didn't shoot.
Yeah.
That wasn't the case. You're right. It's a different era.
Mhm.
And I coached a little AAU back in the day. It was very not a large level and not 6 years, but I start seeing it, and I'm glad my son aged out of that. I was glad to walk away from it because it's hard to coach now.
Mhm.
It's hard because everybody you get. I mean, you can't make everybody happy,
Yeah.
and you never could make everybody happy. And I don't think you make anybody happy.
It's different because, to be honest, you said it, but it's true. Everyone can coach now. because we have AAU teams and we have youth league basketball
So they feel like
teams.
they know enough to tell you what to do.
We have men's basketball, so everybody's a coach. So they have some level of expertise,
Right,
but a
right.
lot of times it's not in the place where you need it to be. Yeah.
Exactly. And a little bit of knowledge is dangerous.
Oh,
Sometimes a little bit of knowledge is worse than no knowledge because you know knowledge, you got to listen to somebody. Some people know
you got
just enough to be dangerous.
you got to listen to somebody. You got to listen to somebody.
They say, well, I'm gonna pin that there. We're gonna have you back. We're gonna talk about that's another. We got part of my show. I'm gonna do on this. This is my YouTube channel, folks. Thanks for tuning in to Huff Nation Sports YouTube channel. By the way, is Huff Nation Sports Timeout Convos. We're taking a timeout with Coach Debbie Wardlaw because she's taking a timeout from her retirement to share some time with me, and I appreciate it. I appreciate it. And while we're doing that, we've already walked you through we're through the 90s now. We talked from your beginnings, your high school, your college, now you're coaching, your young up and coming whippersnapper, you're coaching. You won 2 chips in the 90s. And then talk about that run from 2006 to 2009. I believe after three or all of those games, you'd win on a Friday night, and I have you on my radio show that Saturday. And we talk about it. And because I would call the game, most of the times I was calling the game. What was that like in 2006? 7. You did like LeBron wanted to do. You did not 1, not 2, not 3, or 4, Pete. How did that feel, Coach?
You know, you kind of rub your hands when you're thinking about that thing, man. I could tell you this. You know, I knew, I had confidence that there were some little girls coming up the ladder.
Yeah.
Because I had seen them, I had followed them since rec league, since they were 5 and 6 years old, to AAU when they were 8, 9, 10. I think they were 10 years old. Man, I followed those little girls and I knew
you had a
they were
squad
coming to Lord Richland.
One of them you follow real close.
You know what? Because and Stacey, a lot of people don't know, but them little girls who came through that system, they were all good friends and they live all in the neighborhood.
Perfect.
I used to pick them up. The other parent used to pick them up. The other parent, we knew those girls were coming up. So I knew it was going to be an exciting time. Now we still, between 97 and then what, 9 years later,
no 6.
we still had really great teams. We always made the playoffs. We were just that close. We might have had 1 or 2 athletes who were buying in, but we just couldn't kind of get over that hump. But when they came in and I could tell you what, boy, I tell you, they were something to be, you know, it was a reckoning. It was like, you know, wake up, y'all, here we go. And those 4 years, you know, when I think back on it now, to be honest, God, they were like a blur. You know, when you're in it, you're in the moment.
Right.
Go back and think about it. I knew the prep was those kids coming in. They were Hopkins Middle School District 1 champions. They were AAU all-state champions. They went to nationals in AAU and they were placing like in the top 10. And I knew those girls, they were running things at the rec league. You know, during the summer, they would play with the boys. It would be the, you know, the boys team. They would play on the boys team. So I knew something good was coming. And all of a sudden, here it was in 2006. And
the run started.
And they were talking about some other team up in the upstate.
We won't call them. I think I might know who you're talking about, but go ahead.
You know, I could tell you because, you know, it's on my resume. It was Dorman High School. They had some really top-notch athletes.
Forever, always.
And they were doing what they were trying to do what we eventually did. Because I want to say maybe at that time they had 3 in a row. They might have had 3 championships.
I think so. I think you're right.
I'm not sure because I don't follow, you know, I know the story, but I don't follow it. And here we were.
In the way.
On the scene. On the scene with these. We had really great team. We had a really great team. We had a senior who was on the team. She was a great leader, some other people. And then we had these little 3 freshmen. And Morgan, my daughter, was one. Her friend Deshawn Richbo, which is her assistant coach, and Stephanie Hayes, who is the assistant coach over at Blythewood right now. And I can tell you what, man, those girls came to play
So,
and they
Coach,
did their thing.
listen, that was I am so I'm glad to hear you put in your words because I watched that and I was like, I always wondered did coaches know, but you knew when you saw them coming through the ring, you knew exactly how they were going to fit into your system.
Hmm.
And you knew exactly, and that's got to be good because you had a perfect combination. And let me break it down. And I'm gonna throw it back to you. We got about 8 minutes left, so I'm gonna I'm gonna say this, and I got a couple finishing questions for you. But I'm gonna throw it to you and get your take on this. So I think it was a culmination. It was that kind of talent, but it was humble talent because they already knew they had a winning coach. They couldn't buck up again. They had to fall in line because the template was there. You were established. They knew you knew how to win already because you already showed them, right? You had been part of the community. You're from there. All those things are perfect storm, right? You knew the parents. Like I said, you was with them. You helped them. You picked them up when they were down. You saw them come through the ups and downs and saw them winning. So all that was perfect. And they looked at you and it was like, this is the lady. We already know who's going to lead us to the next step. And you already knew who you wanted to lead to the next step because you already watched them. So I think it was perfect. I don't know if we get that these days now with the jumping around and the community not being what it was. I think it was a perfect start. I don't know if we're going to see that kind of stuff. Although we do have a three-peat over at Ridgeview right now, but I don't know if we'll see too many, of those kind of long runs because people jumping around and people on the bench don't want to be on the bench. They want to go to another school next year and start. But do you agree that was you was kind of on a perfect storm right there in those years?
It was really good. I could tell you, I changed the system for the talent that I had coming in
Perfect. Okay.
because, being a student of the game again and
Right.
being able to listen and understand and talk it over with other people and then realizing that we had something that we hadn't had in a long time, you gotta tweak the system. You gotta let go of some of the stuff you were doing. Lisa Diaz was on the staff. JoJo English was on the staff
I remember that's my
then
guy.
as
That's my golfing
well.
buddy. I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah, so we had a lot of smart people. I,
Yeah.
I surrounded myself with people who knew what they were talking about when it was basketball.
Absolutely.
And you trust those people and those players went out there and did it. And you know what? It was a parent buy-in too, because now, we were fighting the transfer portal is not high school thing, but there
Unofficially
were
back then,
kids,
right? Right.
there were kids going to our neighboring schools who didn't want to play at Lord Richard, and that was fine
Yeah.
because you
Yeah.
know what? Our philosophy was coach who we get, coach who we have,
Right.
coach what we get.
So
And it happened. We did a great job with that.
we
It's a
did.
reward. It was so rewarding. It's still rewarding. I had
Yeah.
the 2013, oh man, 13 championship. I think it was 13.
Yeah. 13, it's 2013. That was your last.
Yeah,
That was your last one, but it was the
that was
last of
my
seven.
last. I know that was my last one. And that one was special. We had kids who had been in the community for so
Yeah.
long and lived down the street from me. So we still had that same kind of common
Yeah.
thing going on where they're from here, we coach them
Yeah.
and we get it done. Got it
So,
done.
Coach, it's been a career well spent and well, I guess, rewarded because you got the chips. But I can tell talking to you, not only do you have the heart with the trophies, you got the heart members because I can see you light up when you talk about your players and when you talk about the relationships and the community. That said, I'm going to take a time out from basketball and ask you a couple other questions. All right, Coach. It's it's the personal part of the Hough Nation Sports YouTube show that we're going to do with everybody I interview. If I look at your Apple Music or wherever your music is, what would be the last couple songs? I want to see where your head is with your music. Where's your music? What's
You
what
know
kind
what? So
what you got?
my music is really and I hardly, to be honest, hardly listen to it around the house.
I
I have
got
a
you.
quiet house. When I'm here by myself,
Yeah,
it's a quiet house.
I got
But
you.
as soon as I get in the car, I am listening to gospel.
There it is. There it is. I'm
Because
not
I
surprised.
don't want the road rage to take over.
Yeah,
I love CC Wyans. Travis Green has some really good
yeah,
songs, but
yeah,
whatever comes on the radio, I
yeah,
like that. I like to be in the car when it's some old school gospel
yeah,
coming
yeah,
on,
yeah,
and
yeah.
I'm doing that.
Ain't
So,
nothing like the old school gospel. That's the
nothing like the old school, but
it
I like,
moves me. It moves me.
but I,
Um,
I do like some other things,
I got
but
yeah. It's like, hey, you got to make variety is the spice of life. Um, Yeah, my house is quiet. I listen to music pretty much only in the car. That's the only time I listen to music.
Only in
And
the
when I'm not
car.
listening to sports radio.
Yeah.
That said, do you have a hidden talent, something you enjoy doing away from sports that might surprise people, something you really do to quiet your mind or for pastime? What is it?
I don't know if it's so hidden because if you follow me on Facebook, you see it often. I am an avid gardener. I just love gardening. Now I have a small plot. I don't
Yeah.
have a big plot because I don't want to have to work a big piece of land. So I have a small plot and I have the vegetables, the flowers, roses in the front. And so people see that. So I have a green thumb.
I love that. That is good stuff. And I don't know if I do it now, but I've been saying, I just said recently, I said, I want to pick a little part of the backyard and see can I grow tomatoes or I want to see. And the way
Yeah.
the way groceries going right now, maybe I might just start farming in my back.
You should. And the easiest one to grow, people say that, well, I know it is like cucumbers. When we do things with
Yeah,
the community, we do little cucumber kits for them.
really.
Little soil,
Yeah.
put a cucumber seed,
Yeah.
Ziploc bag,
Well,
and within a week it's growing.
I'm gonna follow you on Facebook because I'm trying to get into it. You'll be my inspiration for that, Coach. I'm gonna hit you up after this another time. We're gonna get you to cut a promo. I'm gonna let you do a video promo this, not only this show, but my YouTube page.
There
I
you go.
appreciate you. We want to thank you for spending some time, Coach Deborah Stroman Wardlaw, 7-time state champion, Hall of Famer here and there, Columbia College. South Carolina Basketball Coaches Association Hall of Fame. Also a great educator, also an outstanding human being. You've always smiled. You've always been great with the media. Me and I was, nobody. You would always say, yes, I do the interview. It meant a lot to me back in the day. And all the people you've graced with your presence, you've always been a great winner. Some people don't know how to win with grace. You were graceful. And I want to thank you for your career and what you've done. And thanks for being my first guest ever on Hough Nation Sports Timeout Convos on my new YouTube page. Thank you very much, Coach, for spending some time with us.
You're welcome. Always number one.
All right, thank you. I appreciate it. You're so sweet. Thank you so much, Coach. You have a great one. We'll have you back on another time. Thank you so much. All right.